La da 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 da. Yeah. Ooh, oh yeah. Stepping out on faith. This is your season. Stepping out on faith. Nothing can hold me back. Step.
Good God morning, people of God. You have tuned into the Solutions. I'm your host, Minister Corey Wright. My co-host, April, the agent, will be here in a few minutes. Bad weather, a little snow outside, so people starting to drive crazy. So it's taking her a little longer than usual. As always, we know what the problems are. We know we need to do to solve them. What I offer on this platform is solutions, dedicated acts of action that bring about true change, not just talked about change. And no excuses. Excuses are man's tools of incompetence that build bridges to nowhere, monuments of nothing. Broadcasting live from IntellectualRadio-Podcast, our heart radio station. I got the love of my life, Antoinette Sloan, watching. Love you, baby. People of God, we always look for donations. Be a part of this great move and ministry. Go to my GoFundMe page on my Facebook page. Today, we're talking about if God gave you 5 minutes to speak to somebody that passed already, and he gave you just 5 minutes and just one choice, who would that choice be? And why would you pick that person? And today, and the reason why I'm having this show is because we go through life and there are a lot of lessons and a lot of people that have touched us, have made big differences in our life, contributions in our lives, and they're going on to glory. And a lot of times we have people that we don't respect or we don't appreciate or we don't love like we should when they're here. And then when God takes them, they miss them or we wish they were here. Or a lot of times we didn't have the opportunity to say what we wanted to say to somebody, and we would give anything to be able to say that or repair a relationship or be asked for forgiveness or asked to be happy. And I'll start it off first today. If God gave me 5 minutes to speak to somebody that passed on the glory that I could speak with, it would be my grandma. My grandma was one of the strongest, greatest women I've ever known in my life. But my grandmother taught me a whole lot of lessons that I never took heed to when I was young, or I didn't listen to when I was young. And then I realized that not only did I realize them all, that she was right about all of them, that I am now using and applying those same lessons. I find myself saying the same thing she would say to my kids, to people, and in life. And if God gave me 5 minutes with her, I would first thank her for taking care of me when I was young, when my mom worked, for her being always there. And I would ask her, what is heaven like? Is everybody up there? But I would thank her for believing in me and being the example that she was, and that would come and that would happen in my life has happened, and that she was a great role model. And I would say to her that how much I miss her, how much her lessons mean the most to me, and how great of a person she was. And if I could live a million years, I could never reach the level of caring and loving as she is. And that I'm proud of her for raising my mom and raising her kids, for taking care of her sisters and brothers when her mom passed at 16 and her daddy was killed by in the South by a group of white men. His head was bashed in, and he was put on the railroad tracks where he was dismembered by railroad tracks. But I remember the story my grandmother told me when she was sick when she was young. And she said that she was really sick to the point where she thought she was going to die. And they gave her two things of medicine, but one of the medicines, she didn't know which was the right one. One of the medicines could have killed her in a position that she was in, and the other medicine was going to heal her. But her mother didn't know what medicine it was. So she said, just as she was talking, her mom talking, her dad floated in. And he floated in, looked like he was walking on air, and he walked up to the two bottles of medicine and he pointed to one of them, the medicine to give him. Then he went on back to where he was. Um, and I remember her telling me that story. She was also a strong woman who, at a young age, she was raped. And she always told me the story that being a teenager that was raped, she did not give up because she knew that her kids, her family, and people depended on her. So that is the woman that I stand on her shoulders. So if God gave me 5 minutes, knowing that I can talk fast, I would get all that in and even more in 5 minutes. So that would be the woman that the person I would want to talk to. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people that would want to talk to somebody. Please, if you want to call in, share your story at 708-223-8953, 708-223-8953. Be the first person. But if I had another choice, somebody said, Andrea, you said your mom. Call in, Andrea. Tell us why you would want to speak to your mom, and what would you say to her? See, I don't just want you to name the person, but I want you to also say what you would say to them. The number is 708-223-8953, 708-223-8953. You know, when I answer this question, I say, well, there's a lot of people I would love to have spoken to. Like, I would have loved to speak to Martin Luther King. And if I had a chance to speak to Martin Luther King for 5 minutes, the first thing I would ask him was, how did you get up every single day and fight the fight that you fought, knowing that you had death threats on your life constantly? You would make the comments, and when I read his book, he said that. And he said that every day he shaved his face because he's shaving and cleaning up for his funeral. That he said that he would never reach his 40th birthday, and what happened to President Kennedy would happen to him. And what I would ask him, especially being a leader or being a community leader or being somebody that speaks, how did you deal with that every single day? I would ask him, what did you do? What frame of mind, and how did you accept the fact that one day you would be assassinated? Because he knew it. Because if you recall, at his funeral, Martin Luther King's funeral, he preached his obituary. I mean, he preached his eulogy, and they played the tape that he played, that he knew that these things was going to happen. So I would ask him that. I mean, and we only pick one, so I picked my grandma, but I'm giving various people, if I had chosen them, what I would say. I would also want to speak to Nelson Mandela, because I would want to know Nelson Mandela, how did you get through 27 years in prison? How did you do that? How did you every day not let hate fill your heart up, or not feel like you were an animal, something lower than what you were for 27 years? But then how did you feel to come from prison and go right to being the president? So I would definitely ask him that. I would definitely want to speak to him. Definitely, if I had the opportunity, I would want to speak to James Baldwin. Because James Baldwin, even though some people didn't like his sexual preference, he was one of the most brilliant architects of literature and one of the greatest speakers that I've ever heard. And what I would say is, how did you put together your intellectual thoughts to be able to present yourself to the world and to say the things that's going on, to make people not only be convicted, but make them think? I would definitely want to do that. Now, when we start looking at history, I would love to have spoken to, for 5 minutes, if God gave me the opportunity, Harriet Tubman. I would say to her, what was you thinking? Were you ever scared when you was leading to the freedom, to the Underground Railroad, to freedom? What was you thinking? And I would say, when you said the comment, you could have freed more if they would realize they were slaves, and you see what's going on. Because see, each one of them that I would talk to, especially Martin Luther King, James Baldwin, and Harriet Tubman, I would ask them, what do you think about what's going on today? How do you feel that your legacy is being tarnished by some of the things that's happening in our community? So that would be an amazing or a great conversation. But I would love to see how they see it, especially Martin Luther King, for you to be assassinated the way you were and you died, for you to be able to see the people who are dying today on the streets senselessly, what would you think about that? Or what do you think the ingredient that's missing from the people and our communities on why it's like that? So I would like to talk to some people. I would love to talk to various people. But again, like I said, my grandmother would be the one, because my grandmother taught me um, valuable lessons and lessons that I couldn't have imagined that. But right now, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break or 2-minute break so my co-host can sit down. So people of God, we'll be back in about 2 minutes so we can continue the
show. You don't want to miss this train. So Lord, we thank you in advance. People get ready. Ready, get ready. Don't need no ticket. Get on board. People get ready. There's a train a-coming. You don't need no baggage. You just get on board. All you need is faith to hear the diesels humming. You don't need no ticket. You just get on board. You just get on board. Get on board. You don't need no ticket. You just get on board. So people get ready for the train to glory, picking up passengers close to
Good God. Morning, people. We back. I found my co-host, and then you all just joining the show. I said the person that I would want to talk to if God gave me 5 minutes with, again my grandma, because again I stand on her shoulders and all the things she's been through, and I've been in life, and that it wasn't for her courage and her strength, I wouldn't be standing here. And like I said, my co-host is joining me. Good morning. That she was raped when she was young. Her mom died when she was 16, so she had to take care of her kids and take care of her brothers and sisters. Her dad, again, before her mom died, he was killed by a group of white men who bashed his head in and threw him on the railroad. He was dismembered. But she always, like I was saying, I shared the story where she said that when she was young, that she was sick and the doctor gave her some medicine, and because of her condition, one vial could have killed her, and the other one was going to help her. But there was no name or no information on the bottle. They didn't know which one to give her, but she needed it. And he said her dad floated in, walked in there, floated in, and pointed to the bottle of medicine that she needed to take, and went on. He didn't say nothing. He just smiled and went on. And so that would be the one that I would say to tell her that the things she said and the things that she do, I say and I do today. And I realized that she was only trying to make me a better man, make me a better person, and that she mean that much to me. So April, go ahead and say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone.
And tell us
my tardiness.
if God gave you 5 minutes to speak to just one person that went on to glory, who would it be, and what would you say?
If God gave me just 1 minute, you said
5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Okay.
How you get 1 minute?
I don't know. It will probably be the person that's most on my mind, most frequent, which is my uncle. He was more like a brother to me. He died young, he was about 14. And he was actually shot point blank range by someone who was supposedly his friend. So he was jealous of him, and he shot him at point blank range in his chest. When my uncle died, we were actually we were actually at odds with like family. My aunts were kind of, my aunt and my mom was kind of feuding with each other when he passed away. And it was kind of hard for me because we were actually supposed to meet up. It was like the last day of school and we were going to meet up at the skating rink. Everybody was going to meet up there and hang out. And I knew, I found out that he got shot. But in my mind, because I had been through so much with surgeries and accident that I had, I just was like, okay, he got shot. He's fine, you know. In actuality, he passed away, but I didn't know that he passed away. So when I found out, it was by my aunt being on the phone, talking to one of his friends that called, that I found out that he had passed. So if I was able to talk to him, I would just tell him that I love him, I miss him, and I just think a lot about the things that he would say to me when I'm going through different things in my life, and how he would encourage me and tell me, you know, that everything is going to be okay, whatever, like that. Because he didn't have his mom. His mom passed when he was like 7 or something, because I'm older than him. He told me, you know, to treat my mom a certain way because he didn't have a mom. So he was like, you know, don't take that for granted. So that's why a lot of things I don't take for granted, because of his words, even though he was younger than me.
Okay. Now, I was going through some other scenarios, and people, again, call in at 708-223-8953, 708-223-8953 to tell us who you want to talk to again for 5 minutes if you had a chance. Is there any other people you would want to talk to? Now, I know we just won, but for the show's sake, we're going to pick, because I said I would want to talk to Martin Luther King and ask him, how did you get through every day knowing that you were going to be assassinated? To say, he said, is this every day he shaved his face? Would this be the day that I'm shaved it for the last time? You know, he did it, and I was saying that he did his own eulogy. You know, they played it. Then I said, well, I would want to talk to James Baldwin. You know, even though a lot of people didn't agree with his sexual preference, you know, how did you come up with those great words and fire? And you know, how did you be able to put your intellectual ability to speaking the truth? Then I also said I would want to speak to Harriet Tubman and ask her, you know, did you ever feel death? What was you thinking? But to see what you see today, what would that make you feel? So those are something for people. If you had a chance to talk to some few people, who would you want to talk to? And what would you ask them?
I think I would go with the opposite of you and talk to Malcolm X. I want to know what his thought process was in those last days when he went to Mecca and he saw that there were not just Black Muslims, but different nationalities of Muslims, and how he was looking at Christianity differently after being close with Martin Luther King. So those are the kind of things I want to know from him. And if there was anything that he has done or said aside from his life before his transition into his spiritual man, what would be different? What would he do or say that was different? What would he say to the world now? Then I probably would pick Prince. I was on Purple Rain this morning. This shirt is a tribute to the show today, even though it's not purple, it's still, you know, got the Prince thing going. I want to know, like, for him as an artist, I know he has a lot of music that he has never released, you know, and a lot of his writings that he never released. What is there anybody in particular that he would want to share that music with? Like, if there's somebody that he wanted to give it to as an artist, or what would he say to new artists coming out, you know, starting on their way? Maybe they might feel like they're like really different, because he's a really eclectic artist. Like, he has a lot of he's a very different artist. So he stands alone. He's in his own class. Him and Michael Jackson, people try to, you know, do the Michael Jackson Prince challenge, but to me they're like on two different realms of their own. They're just like in their own class. There's nobody that's like them. So that would be my person.
That's good. If I had an artist that I would pick who I would want to, it would be Sam Cooke, and it would be for that particular record, A Change Gonna Come. And what I would ask him was, because see, when you hear him sing that song, he sing it with such passion, and he sing it with such conviction that it sparked a movement. It sparked I mean, I would say when you recording that, because we hear the record constantly and we hear the record, but when you were recording that, was there a time that a great emotional presence came over you? Was it a great, I mean, what was you feeling the day you were recording that? And I would ask him, when you recorded that record, was that the beginning of more recordings? I mean, because, when you think about what happened to Sam Cooke, how he was set up, because a lot of people don't know about Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke owned his own record label at the time, the record label. So when he put that record out, he put it out in the point where could nobody stop him. And that record was a platform for him to really enlighten or uplift Black folks in a time of a bad civil rights era. So when you look at that, I would definitely ask him that. And then the one person I would say was, I would ask James Brown. I want to talk to James Brown and say, when you were on stage, did you become the music or did you dance to the music? And the reason why I say that, because if you ever watch James Brown, and if you look at, he was on the Tamar something show where he was same show with Rolling Stones on it. He was doing Out of Sight. And when you look at him doing it, he literally was moving his bottom half, but his top half was still, he was singing. That he had such body control. Did he feel it? What did you feel when you was on stage, Mr. Electricity, Mr. Dynamite? What did you, did you just become the music? And that would be my question. I would talk to him like, how did you feel and how did you engulf being James Brown on the stage?
That's awesome. I like when you say, did he become the music or did he dance to the music? Because there's artists that it seems like their being is a part of their art, and that's an awesome gift to have.
Because you take, because the reason why I say that is because I was able to go to 2 concerts in my life. Well, I would go to other concerts, but 2 concerts of 2 people that really became the music. When I tell you they put on a show live, Patti LaBelle, and I seen Johnny Gill.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people don't know how good Johnny Gill put on a show. He sung a song, Quiet Time to Play. It was at the Chicago Theater. When I tell you, he walked down that, Johnny Gill was like, man, I'm talking about like, good grief, this young cat is. Patty, you could have turned off the microphone at Patty. Patty, what was it? I don't know where I seen Patty at somewhere, but the whole theater, when Patty was singing, Patty kept moving back from the microphone because Patty vocals was so powerful that if you took the microphone away from Patty, she can still sing her song and you can still hear her throughout the place. And I was just, so that's why when I say James Brown, if I could talk to James Brown, did you become the music or did you just dance to it?
I'm trying to think of who else I would want to talk to. I mean, naturally, you want to talk to your grandparents because they have that wisdom. You want to know. For me, I would want to know what drove my grandmother. She was a single mother, total. My mom, my older uncle, they were the oldest 2, and their father, she was with. I'm not sure if they ever got married, but eventually he left, and she ended up having more kids, and she was on her own. So she was like a single mother. And during those times, it was probably harder for a woman to make her way without a man. So she worked hard and pulled herself up from what's called the projects, pull herself out of the projects and end up buying a home for herself. And the home was able to accommodate the children that it needed to accommodate during the time. My uncle had moved out by then and had his wife and his daughter. My mom, she had her own place, so we were living on our own, but then she still had her younger children, which were the other 4 siblings. including my uncle that passed. So I would want to know what was her drive to push her to be able to accomplish the things that she wanted to accomplish in life, and be able to purchase her home and purchase the vehicle she had, because she had multiple vehicles.
Mike, I got you. That's where I'm going next. Go ahead. Are you ready to go to the next level? Okay,
yes,
let's go to the next level. God gave you 5 minutes to talk to somebody, just one person in the Bible. Who would that be? That's a good one.
Mine first would be Ruth, because I actually was able to speak in my church in Florida on her. They had like a woman's day, and we had to choose one. All the leaders had to choose one person. And I chose Ruth because at the time I was a daughter-in-law, so I chose her, and I would want to know what she was when she had to, talk to Boaz or whatever, that's his name, right? Boaz, to become his wife after her husband died, and all the things that she went through, what her thought process was with that, and going on to continue on with her ex-husband's mother when everyone else had left and went to their own tribe, but she stayed with a person who believed in Christ, which wasn't necessarily her born into faith. So that would be the first person I would talk to.
Now, the first person I want to talk to, and that's going to blow everybody away. If God said to me, Corey, you got 5 minutes to talk to anybody in the Bible, who would you be? Your first person you want to be? Who would you talk to? I would talk to Mary Magdalene. And the reason why I would talk to Mary Magdalene was the first one to see Jesus when he rose. And see, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb, and she seen the 2 angels that said, why look for the living among the dead? Didn't realize Jesus was standing behind her. And when he turned around, he was there. So, and he said, touch not, I have not ascended to my Father in heaven. So, but you seen it, and you believe so much that you was there. And my would be, when you seen Jesus standing there after the resurrection on that Sunday morning, you say, what was you thinking? I would want to talk to her. That's who I want to talk to. I would want to talk to her.
Well,
then my second person that I would want to talk to, it's gonna probably blow a lot of people away, because it's easy to say I would want to talk to one of the disciples. It's easy to say I would want to talk to Lazarus or some other people that did, but I would want to talk to the thief on the cross.
wow.
See, I would want to talk to the thief on the cross, who was in one of the most horrific places that he belonged to be in, not Jesus. And I would want to talk to the one that said, okay, Lord, not the one that's, that's going to hell and got his eyes poked out by the crows. I don't want to talk to that one. I want to talk to the one that had sense enough to realize that I am on a cross. I am about to die. This is my faith. I had no other way. There was nothing else that I could say. I am on this cross. I am going to die. I did these bad things in life. These things happened, and it caught up with me. I have no other choice but to die. Now, the thing I got going for me is that Jesus is right next to me. That's all I got. I ain't got nothing else. I ain't got no more tricks. I ain't got no more games. I ain't got no more negotiation.
No,
I ain't got nothing.
Wow.
I am about to die. So all I got is, and see, here it is, enough to realize I ain't got to tell you, God, my whole story, because you already know. You ain't listen. When you get in your kingdom, you gotta do is, I want you to remember me. Don't just remember me. Just remember me. That if I'm just if I'm a doorkeeper, if I got a little hole in the corner in your kingdom, let me be there. To know, hey, Lord, I deserve to be here. I deserve to be. See, first of all, what did you know? He said, hey, I can imagine him saying to me, hey, I knew I did all I could do. I'm done. To hear Jesus say, what was you thinking when Jesus turned around and stopped dying? Stop down and say, okay, let me save you. This day, not tomorrow, but this day, you will be with me in paradise. What was you thinking? That to me, whoa.
That is powerful. That is powerful. Now, I would have never thought that. Never came up with all that. That is powerful.
Think about that.
Woo.
You on the cross. God, you gonna give me 5 minutes to talk to anybody in the Bible? I definitely want to talk to that thief on the cross. You about to die. Think about that. You think about everybody in all these sick rooms, and some people that's on the deathbed, some people who got terminally ill sicknesses, some people who know that in a few months you might not be here, and the only thing you got is Jesus is right next to you. That's all you got. You have no other choice. You unlike the other thief who trying to negotiate, you in a bad situation, because a lot of people in bad situations still trying to negotiate with God. He got it. It took him a cross situation to get it, but he got it. Only thing I got for me right now is the Son of Man. God is next to me. And hey, remember me. That's all I can say. Remember me. Remember me, Lord, when you enter into your kingdom. Not my kingdom,
right?
But your kingdom. Remember me.
Nothing to do but surrender.
And he tell you, this day, you going to be with me in paradise. I got to talk to that man. I got to talk to him. Because, see, you were able to die. I will be with Jesus in kingdom. Hey, I'm all right. To believe in him that much, to see him on the same. See, here's the thing about that. That you got, even though you're on the cross dying like him. That's faith. That's faith. His whole entire life, he has messed up. His whole entire life has got him nailed to a cross. But you alive long enough to talk to God and say, remember me. Not forgive me, Lord, not heal me, not help me, but remember. Your remembrance of me is better than anything else I can get right now in my life. That's saving my life. That's set me free. That's get me down from this cross. That even let me go live more. I want to talk to that thief. Yeah. I want to talk to him.
He was a smart man.
I want to talk to him.
He was a smart man.
And defended God. Say, hey, this man ain't done nothing. We deserve to be here. Man, that's who I want to talk to in the Bible. Go ahead.
Wow. Dang. You blow everybody out the water with that one.
Nobody thought about that. People, get in. You call in. 708-223-8953. 708-223-8953. If God gave you 5 minutes to talk to somebody in the Bible, who would it be and what would you say?
The other person would be Moses. I would talk to Moses because he had to have a hard time finding out the truth about where he came from, being ostracized by the only family that he knows. Not being confident in himself as a person because he had a speech impediment, and saying like, why God, how can you use me? How, I'm not worthy of this position that you're putting me in, and God made a way out of no way every time for everything to free his people and get them across an ocean. Like, who does that? Like, what was he thinking, or how was he feeling when he was being able to be used by God to perform these miracles? How was he able to stay humble in the position that God had put him in? Those are the kind of things I want to talk to him about. I want to ask him what he would say to people that God put in positions to bless others and bring others out of situations. How would he talk to them to teach them how to continue to be humble, even though God puts you up high? Because as a human, it's human nature that you're going to get a big head, but you don't have to get a big head. You don't have to stay in that position once you realize what that position is, because the same way God give it to you is the same way God can take it away. So that's what I want to talk to Moses about. I would ask him how he would talk to somebody and teach them how to stay humble. God
gave me somebody else to talk to in the Bible for 5 minutes that's going on. I would want to talk to Daniel. And the reason why I want to talk to Daniel, because I want to know your frame of mind, knowing that you're about to be put in a arena full of lions, big hungry lions. Now, that is such a spiritual event in the Bible, but it's also a mental and a spiritual event, because we as people every day face lions. We face people who can be big, bad, and intimidating, but not a real lion. We talking about a real lion that has the capability of chewing you up and biting half of your body in half. We talking about a lion. Now, you're in a lion's den with these hungry lions. Daniel, remember, you prayed to God, and God had already sent the answer coming to you. Even though some of Satan's hordes tried to stop him, and he had to call for the Archangel Michael. You know, you won't deal with no Archangel. Right? Archangel called for Michael. Michael covered, kicking butt. So it took to get the answer to him 21 days, but the answer came to him on the day he in the lion's den. But you got to think about the faith level of Daniel you have to have, because you're like, hey, okay, you're gonna put me in a den of lions den. What was you thinking when you walked and seen all these big lions? But more importantly, when they mouths shut, when God sent the angels shut their mouths, and you sitting up there laying and on the lions and patting the lions, and everybody looking like, why? Knowing these lions is hungry. What was you thinking when you walked up and touched one of these lions, or you seen this big lion look at you with his mouth closed? Now, you just see some of these wild videos where he lied and bit and chewed people up. People, want to create these same events in the Bible and jump in the lions, but the lions, you jump in the lions den and some of these zoos, but you ain't got the same faith level and get chewed up. So, but you just see, I just see animals. That guy was standing there teasing a lion, and the lion bit him and apart. By the time they found him, they had to find his body part. The lion chewed up half of them. Wow. Talk about he got, he Daniel
mauled to death.
Yeah, he Daniel. Okay, you wasn't Daniel that day, but I'm just saying, you Daniel. What was Daniel thinking? Because you got to think about it. You walk in, they push you into a lion's den with all these hungry lions. Hey, we got a call. You on with Minister Wright and April? Who's this?
This is Brother Mike, a.k.a. Just Mike the Poet.
What's up, man?
How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How y'all doing? Loving the show.
Hey, I got your CD in my car right now.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
Number 5, I can't get over that, man. I can't get over number 5, man. That's my joint there, man.
What about number 10? You like number 10?
The one he talk about. But we talk about your CD, but when you talk about, I hurt you hurt, and the one with the piano and the oh man, that's it. You know what it is. Like, but what's up, man? Mike.
You got a new phone.
Hello.
Hear me?
All right, I can hear you now, man. What's up, man? What you think? If you had a chance to talk to anybody that gone on to glory, who would it be, and what would you say? And even if you had a chance to talk to somebody in the Bible, who would it be, and what would you say?
Man, I usually don't play like that, man. I'll talk to him when I get to heaven, but
just hypothetically, bro.
I ain't gonna spoil it though. I know. Well, I would say by me being an artist, and I would love to sit down and talk to Tupac Shakur. I believe that he was a controversial rapper. It seemed like he was battling, with the dark side and the light side, and I felt that, through his music. And I would just sit down and just chop it up with him, just like y'all doing, and just ask him a few questions. And man, it would be Tupac Shakur as far as the artist.
Biblically, say it. Biblically.
As far as the Bible, who would you want to talk to, and what would you say?
I would talk to David. I would ask him how did it feel to take down Goliath.
Wow.
And what really made him repent of, you know what I'm saying? He was about him being a man after God's own heart. Even though he did a lot of wrong, he was still, repentant, like he was sorry and realized and recognized the things that he done that was wrong. He acknowledged that. And he was also a poet as well too, so it'll be David.
Yes.
Would you try to do a piece with him? Would you try to do a piece with him? A spoken word
piece with him?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I'll just do an intro. I'll do an intro. He can take it from there. Either one of them. Yeah.
All right. So how you been, man?
I've been good. I can't complain. Just maintaining, trying to stay above.
Oh, hey, thank you.
Can you give us a little bit of a spoiler about your new your coming up events with your new TV show?
Oh yeah, and hey, you was on my show, so I better get an invite. I better be your special guest, first guest, brother. Won't be none.
Most definitely, I'm gonna interject something, but it's pretty much what you all are talking about. To sit down and talk to even these poets while they are alive.
Yes.
And get some of their inner thoughts.
While they're alive, like we just talk about everybody dead on this show. Thank you for saying that, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, talk to everybody while they're alive. Like our show is morbid. Man, that's cold, man.
Yeah, so that's our poet show coming next year, 2018 in January. Yeah.
Yay! Y'all make sure y'all pay attention. Watch the show. I'm excited for you, bro.
Man, thanks.
And you know what?
You're going to be surprised.
Mike, you're responsible for my co-host in this connection.
Yes, you are.
Wow.
You know that. Where did I meet April at?
And album release.
There you go.
CD release. Yeah.
And I walked up to her and I said to her, you should be on radio. We were interacting there. And I say, wow, the way we interacted, because I came in and told the producer about her. And she up and left to Florida. But then she came back. When she came back, that was it, man. And you see how we flow. Even though she got the Prince on today, you see how right.
Wait, what do you have against Prince? This was what I'm trying to find out.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
You're about to fight.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. She hit the walking here.
I was doing your move.
Hey, that. So, man, Just Mike, man, appreciate you coming, man. Appreciate you calling,
thanks, man. Thanks, I appreciate you all. I'm gonna leave y'all with this. Everything is all divine connections. That's why it's very important for us to follow our purposes for the will of God, because we never know what He has in store.
Yeah,
absolutely, man. Love you, man. Thank you for calling.
Love you.
I love y'all too. Watch the show. Thank y'all. Yep. Peace.
Okay.
Y'all heard it. Just Mike the Poet, upcoming TV show.
All right. he all right. He got a special place in my heart because it was through his show that I could allow me to be the MC, which allowed me to connect with April, watching her son dance, looking like, what in the world did he so limbo like that? Made me try to dance till I realized I was 40-some years old and I can't move that way no more.
Yeah, all you gotta do is stretch, you'll get it.
Man, you can't stretch me like a rubber band to get me do the stuff he was doing.
Yes, that's right. My son is thebomb.com.
Yeah, them days is over. Her son was flipping back and splitting and half his body turned this way while the other half this way. Man, I tried that, man. I told him, give me some aspirin. Give me an aspirin, a VA, MA, and M80, too, because I needed something.
Yes.
Amazing.
You guys look up Liquid Motions. If you go on YouTube, look up Liquid Motions. They have a YouTube page. Like their stuff and subscribe to them. Support.
All right. So my fiance said she would want to speak to Mary. Mary is a good person. Now, you said that you would want to speak to Moses. Mm-hmm. I would want to speak to Moses, but I would ask Moses about the burning bush moment. See, I would ask Moses, I would say, Moses, when you seen that flame, because see, you got to talk to God. Mm-hmm. See, because you could see when you look at the history and things about the burning bush, that was on the Mount Sinai, on a region where they had a real petrified wood that burned quick. Out of wood with that fire, they had to keep doing it almost hourly because it burned fast. So you got a wood that's dried and aged to burn fast, not burning. And according to scripture, he's seen the angel standing in the fire. So you got an angel standing in the fire that's not being consumed. So what I'm thinking was, he said, I got to go see this. So what, because nobody else see this? Because, I'm thinking I'll be like, hey, y'all don't see that? I got to go see this for myself. And to get close enough to it and God talk to you and say, pull off your shoes off your feet. Because this is where you stand is holy ground. Not because it is holy ground, because I'm here makes it holy. and to see this great sight and talk to God, because you got to remember, he threw the staff down and God turned it into a snake. And see, then he picked it up and it turned back into a staff. And, and I said some while back is that God will use snakes as staffs in your hand to be used, but that's another sermon. And then he put his hands in his bosom, and then it brought out, it was white leopards, like white. And then he put it back in and it went back to the same color. So he's seen this because that encounter gave him assignment. So I would be like, what was you thinking to be in the presence of all this mighty? Because you got to think about it. God said to Moses, let me put you in a cleft and let me hide you so you can't see me. And just seeing me walk past you would be great enough for you. And they said when Moses came down from the mount, he had a light on him that was like, because he's in the presence of God. So I would ask him about that whole experience, like you walk upon, because I know when I first had my experience encounter with God and the Holy Spirit, and I started speaking in tongues, it was very amazing and overwhelming to me. It was like, wow, because then I realized how many years I've been in church. I've had experiences, but never encountered, but to have an encounter with God and like, wow, the Holy Spirit takes you, like, wow, just like, what was you thinking? Like, Pharaoh, you in trouble. You about to get your butt kicked. All those people you got, God is bigger and better than all of them. So I would ask him, wow, what was you thinking? What was you thinking when you left that? See, that's the thing. What was you thinking when you left that?
Right, his emotional state
during
and after.
You can't tell me nothing. I just met with God. Come on. What you gonna tell me? Who gonna tell me no? Please. I'm about to go tell Pharaoh in his face, let my people go, or you about to be in trouble. You got to think about the authority. You got to think about how God, here it is. You're trying to kill all the babies. That's going to be the deliverer. It's the deliverer in your house. That ain't tell me how powerful God is. That's going to deliver my people who you trying to kill you kill all these kids trying to get. I'm not only going to raise them up, but I'm going to give them all your benefits in your house. I'm like, Moses, I want to talk to Moses. What was you thinking?
Let's talk to Pharaoh too and see what he was thinking. Like, what?
No. Boy,
he was like, what?
Pharaoh ain't won't talk to me. Pharaoh be like, listen, I'm going back. I don't want to talk to you. I got my butt kicked. Pharaoh got drowned.
My mind.
He got drowned. The rest he got drowned with the rest of his thing. So that is deep. Now let's go even deeper. Now you ready to go deeper?
Sure.
If God gave you 5 minutes to talk to somebody that was murdered, was murdered, or somebody that who would it be? Or what happened during that moment? Now, you want me to go first? You want to go first?
Yeah, you go first because I'm thinking.
If God gave me 5 minutes to talk to somebody who was murdered, I would want to talk to Trayvon Martin. And I would ask him what happened. We know what happened, but I would ask him, what happened and what happened during that process. Why did he, and I know why he attacked you, because he was racist. Was it anything you could have done, or did you see this coming? Or, I would ask him that question. And what is it that you want people to know about that wasn't said in the trial, that wasn't said on the news, that was not said, period? Was there somebody else that seen what happened that won't come forward because they're racist? Because one thing that I've always learned, there's always, doing 911 for 8 years, I've always known there's somebody that saw something. A lot of people won't say nothing because they're scared or they agree or they're racist. But a lot of times when you look at history of people have been prosecuted, have been wrongly killed, there's always been witnesses of somebody. That's why when you look at a lot of shows like 48, they always go for the weakest link to break the whole case. You know what? Listen, we know you was there. We can't prove that they did, but we know you was there. So we're going to charge you with everything. Either you tell us what happened or and testify against them that did, or you going to jail for the rest of your life. Most people say, well, that wouldn't work for me. It does. Because you know why? If somebody telling you you're going to go for the rest of your life, you tend to say, okay, let me tell or let me say something. So if you had a chance to talk to somebody that's been victimized to really find out what happened, who would that be?
I really don't have a clue.
That's a deep question.
Yes, I don't have a clue.
Now.
Maybe somebody say I can't read it. I can't see it.
You want me another one? You want me to go with another one? I can go with another one.
I could choose like a general person, but I can't like choose a name. I'm bad with names. So I would choose probably some of these people that's been murdered and that's incarcerated and they get murdered. Like what transpired to make that happen to them? Is there anything like anybody that they could have maybe contacted? It's like it's all so corrupt, so it's kind of hard to ask that question to somebody because it's like there's nothing that they did to deserve to be murdered.
Right.
So what could you ask someone?
Because see, a lot of times, there are a lot of things that has been hidden. We have a lot of, that's why I always bring up, and I'm always talk about the things that's happening with Kanika Jenkins.
Mm-hmm.
You hear me talk about that because there are a lot of things that's happening that has been hidden, that's been covered up. And a lot of times, there are a lot of people that have been victimized. You have a lot of people that have been hanged, have been lynched, that nobody's ever talked about. There's nothing ever been proven, and they're going to pay for it later in hell. But there are a lot of stories that you never hear the story or you never hear the truth behind. And if you had a chance to tell the truth about somebody or something, who would that be? Because, when I think about that, one of the people that I would really want to think about because of the way they was murdered was Malcolm X. Here it is, you're in front of your kids and your wife, and you giving a speech at the Autumn Ballroom, and you see these men come at you with these guns, but you don't run, you don't go nowhere, you stand there, and you see that. Now, was this the government's government trying to set you up? Was this, according to some people believe it was the Nation of Islam setting you up under the orders of Elijah Muhammad? Was it, who was the one that was behind it? Some people say when you were laying there, they were pumping your heart. They was covering your mouth up so you can, the person that was giving you oxygen in your mouth was covering your mouth up so you couldn't breathe to make you die quicker. Was it the fact that no police was in the area? So was this an orchestrated hit by government because there was no security, no orchestrated? And, you hear a lot of times, I've heard Minister Louis Farrakhan speak on the fact that Malcolm X didn't search people, something that his teacher taught him to do when you walk, to always search everyone that comes in this place. So what was it that in your mindset, because he said to somebody, and if you read his biography, he felt that was his day. He said something to his wife, and he said, but he did it anyway. And that's why at that time he was staying at a hotel, because he didn't want to endanger his wife and endanger people, but they had to live with that death threats and constant things. And so I would want to know, from him, what really happened. What happened. And, people of God, again, if you want to call in, it's 708-223-8953, 708-223-8953. And you want to say, if you had a chance to speak somebody that's passed or somebody that was taken, that was murdered, who would it be? And what would you say? And that is somebody I would want to talk to. What about you?
Man, I don't know. This show's coming. Man.
It's a deep show, huh?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I want to talk to I can see her face. Maya Angelou. I love her. Like I would just want some of her energy, some of her spirit. That's what I want from her. because she is so positive, and like she's somebody who I would want to be. She let no negativity in her life. She let no negativity in her home. So that's the type of person that I would want to sit down and talk to. I think that for the most part, she left everything here and she did what she was supposed to do, and she left it all. So that's somebody who I would want to sit with. I would just want to sit with her and just talk to her and just ask her to leave me some of her. That's what I would do.
Now, let's say, Vince, is okay. You were able to talk to 5 people for 5 minutes in one group. What would be the 5 people you put in a group to talk to that has passed on the glory?
Dang, 5 people? I can't even come up with one for a certain subject. You give me 5.
You want me to answer that?
Sure.
Okay, 5 people that I would want to talk to, and this is going to blow you away. 2 couples and 2 couples and 1 person. And this is the reason why. I would want to talk to Malcolm X and Betty Shabazz. I would want to talk to Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King. And I would want to talk to James Baldwin. Those are the 5 people I want to talk to. Because one thing I would want to know is, especially being that I'm looking at God as he's elevating my life, I'm starting to speak more, getting in front of more crowds, and getting in front of more people, that how do you deal with marriage or somebody who's in the spotlight, who's giving his life for everybody else? And how does that affect your relationship? How do you feel knowing that your husband is, and you guys are targeted to die, but your husband is targeted to be assassinated? You know in your heart, because of what he represents, what he stands for, that he is going to die one day. Somebody's going to take his life, and that you are now going to be the lamp or the focal point of his legacy now that he's gone. And how did you do raising 4 kids by yourself, raise them in the light of the fact that their dad was this iconic force that was assassinated? They're growing up worrying about how people are going to treat them, being that they can't have a normal life, and more people start to pity them and study live with them, or how would you do that? So that would be one thing, those 2 people. And again, James Baldwin, by the way he was articulated, by the way he speak. So I would ask Malcolm X and Martin Luther King first. How did you feel when you knew that you were this iconic person, that a movement is behind your name and a movement behind your events, but it takes away from your family, and that one day you will be taken away from your family? How did that make you feel? And did you ever worry about what you're heaving on the shoulders of your wives, trying to pick up your mantelpiece and carry it? But then I would talk to James Baldwin about, how did you feel about lecturing about civil rights and about inhumane treatment of Black folks in front of white audiences, in front of white universities, in front of the world? Especially when his movie was outstanding, that I am not your Negro, and it was such a powerful way he articulated stuff, and way he said stuff was so powerful that you could not be the same after hearing it. So those are the people, because when I look at what God has given me to do, and I look at the lady in my life and her love for me, that wherever God elevates me, if anything should happen, you have to carry that mantelpiece. And being that I can end up being great, or I can end up being, somebody amazing one day. Not saying that I ain't already. Oh my God. But I'm just saying, was that a fairly unheaved? Was that struggle, that civil rights era, unfairly heaved on their shoulders when their husband was assassinated? So those would be my 5 people. Hey, Ray was just stuck, y'all. See, I got her just stuck.
That last part, that was good. That was really good.
So who would be your 5 people?
What happened after their husbands were murdered?
Think about that. Because who in the world, for Coretta Scott King and Malcolm X widow Betty Shabazz, who could they marry after that? Could you be a man trying to marry Coretta Scott King after she has been with Martin Luther King, or Betty Shabazz after you've been with Malcolm X? Would you feel inferior? Would you feel like, okay, there was nothing I could do? And why would you listen to me after you'd have been with a great man like this? How can you not feel inferior?
I mean,
because I don't think they never married again.
right.
And a lot of them accept the fact that, okay, this is the man I got because his legacy is so heavy, I can't marry nobody else. I'm sure they've seen somebody else, but I don't think they marry anybody.
Yeah, it could be that the men felt inferior, and it was hard for them to adjust to that. They felt like they had to compete when they didn't. All they had to do was be themselves. But that's another subject. Man, I want to say this artist, but I can't think of his name. I love him, and I don't know why I can't. Like, his name is on the tip of my tongue. You ever watch Mrs. Doubtfire?
Robin Williams.
Robin Williams. Thank you. Yes, Robin Williams. I want to talk to him and find out why he committed suicide. Like, what was he going through to make him commit suicide? Because he was like, I love him as an artist. I love his comedy. Like, only thing that he's ever done that I really wasn't that fond of was Dreams That May Come. I like the concept of it, but I didn't really agree with it. But I want to know what brought him to that low to make him want to commit suicide. That's what I want to talk to.
And the amazing thing about this that I want to make sure people understand when I say, if God gave you 5 minutes to talk to somebody that's always went to glory, who would it be? The reason why I'm saying that, because see, even though God takes you to glory, you remains on this earth forever.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at all the people that has passed in life, they found life and made life better. And I think it's everybody's responsibility that God gave you life to make life better than you found it, to leave it better than you found it. And see, you are living through your legacy. Every great person that was ever in this world, you look at all the great people that was in the Bible that God used and he's still using today, left a legacy by what they did. And people will talk about you and talk about the books. We're still talking about today Michael Jackson. We're still talking about Prince. We're still talking about James Brown. We're still talking about Martin Luther King. We're still talking about E.B. Du Bois. We're still talking about Elijah Muhammad. We're still talking about Malcolm X. We're still talking about great men and women of God, great men and women, period. Everybody can tell you a Temptation song. Even though a lot of them are not here, they can tell you everything you do lives on. We still talking about Scott Joplin. We still talking about Madam C.J. Walker. We're still talking about great people. And the reason why I said that today, if it's God's willing, somebody going to be talking about you. Somebody going to be talking about April, the agent. Somebody going to be talking about Minister Corey Wright. Somebody going to be talking about IntellectualRadio.com. Somebody's going to be talking about WG. Somebody's going to be talking about the things that we have done in life. So when I say that, I'm coming at you in the point that I want you to realize that your greatness will be talked about. And a lot of times, I wish I could talk to some great people, like some of the people in the Bible. Man, you got to think about it, especially Lazarus, who was dead for 4 days. What I want to think when Jesus told him to let him go, set him free, what he was looking at when he realized that, okay, he looked down and said, I'm wrapped in grave clothes, or to look back at a tomb. Mm-hmm. And it'd be like, because see, there had to be a smell on him. I smell like I was dead. And somebody say, Lazarus, you were dead. You were dead. But it raised him up to see Jesus bringing you out of a dead situation.
Say that again.
To see Jesus bringing you out of a dead situation.
All right, now.
That is something that I would love to talk about. I'll tell you something. When I talked about Moses, I talked about the burning bush moment. But I would love to talk to any one of those million people that walked through that Red Sea. That's the thing that I want to talk to. I want to talk to, like, wow, what was you thinking?
Right.
What was you thinking? Now,
that's what I was going to ask you. If we were talking about groups of people, I would want to talk to people who walk this earth now. Maybe they have a lot of money and they say that they're atheists. They don't believe in God and they passed on. has their mind changed after they passed on?
It would be if I had a chance to talk to somebody. Oh, okay. Hey, Jill, you might have to call in because that's a lot. I can't read it on the screen. 708-223-8953. I'm thinking you said you would want to talk to God. I don't know. You have to say call in. Now, the last person in the Bible, because I definitely want to talk to Jesus. That's regardless. I want to talk to Jesus. But the last person that I would want to talk to in the Bible, last person, if God said, I'm going to give you 5 minutes to talk to the Bible, would be Thomas. Thomas is the one I want to talk to. Because when Jesus first came to the disciples, Thomas wasn't there. So Thomas said, I'm not going to believe till I see the nail prints in his hand and the piercing in his side. I will not believe. For him to be standing there and say, hey, come here. Stick your hand in my nail print. See, that's the moment right there. Let me stop. That's the moment, right? That's the man that I wanted. Because see, we've seen all the amazing things that Jesus did. But to care enough to come to you, Doubting Thomas, and say, here. See, that's who I want to talk to here. And he didn't have to. Here. Here you go. It's right here. I said what I was going to do and I did it. I am not, man, I lie. Here. See, Thomas, what Thomas thinking? Here you go, God say, here. Here it is right here. Right here, look. Here you go. Here, let me raise this up here. Look, put your hand right there. Go ahead. Go ahead. It's better to have faith not to see and not see. But you know what? Hey, I understand, Thomas. The things I did, Thomas, I get it. You don't take nobody else's word for it. You got to have your own count on me. Thomas, I get it. Here you go. Yeah. See, that's who I want to talk to, Thomas. What was you thinking when you put your hand in there, Thomas? When you put your hand in there, Thomas, what was you thinking? Thomas, you put your hand in your side, what you thinking? Huh? See, Thomas probably was not only blown away, but Thomas was like, wow. Could you imagine standing next to Thomas? Could you imagine what Thomas was thinking? All the places, you came, even though you came earlier, and they talk about they seen you, you love me enough to come back. It's better to believe without seeing, but you love me enough to come back. Because see, Jesus will dwell with you. He'll tarry with you. He's the same God there. And there's a lot of people he's right in front of right now. He's like, here, put your hand in there. Mary said, I talked to my mom. He said, put your hand in there. I want to talk to Thomas. That'll be the last person biblically I want to talk to. Thomas, what was you thinking? There's a lot of miracles and there's a lot of great things that happen in the Bible that you won't talk to. But Thomas, I want to talk to Thomas. Talk to Thomas. Thomas, what you thinking? Yeah. Here, Thomas. Come here, Thomas. Here. See, that's something to think about. When you think about and able to speak to somebody in the Bible. Thomas, you seen it. They seen it. But you seen it. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm trying to get to some of these comments because I can't see them all the way over there.
All right, we're going to get some of these comments. What did Gia say?
Okay. Gia said, if God gave me 5 minutes to talk to anyone, I would choose God. But if God was no choice, then I would pick Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla.
Okay.
Tesla. I would definitely pick Nikola Tesla. Have a good day. That's what she said. Or maybe Thoth from Emerald Tablets if Nikola Tesla was unavailable. Thoth from Atlas, who came to educate the hairy barbarians of Egypt.
Okay. Somebody said, and somebody said their mom.
Yeah, and somebody said Mary.
We'll speak to Mary.
Antoinette Sloan.
That's my fiance.
Okay. Hi, fiance.
So, and that makes you think about who you talk to. But see, now let me go deeper now. even though you have not physically talked to, who have you talked to with your actions and keeping on their legacy? See, now we're going into the next part of the show. See, y'all weren't ready for this. That's a great setup. Because, see, all those people you named, and I named, I am talking to them, may not physically, but metaphorically, I am talking to them by my actions. So, you said you want to talk to your uncle.
Yep. I think that's the person, because that's the person who I talk to, and I'm like, what would you say to me in this situation?
So how is your actions talking to him?
Because I pretty much think about what would he say for me to do, how would he want me to treat different people in my life, because not everybody is good to me, and I'm still good to people even that are not good to me. I'm still good to them. Some people I have to step away from. And I think being able to think about him and what he might tell me to do will helps me step away from them and keep negativity out of my life. So that's kind of how he helps me. He helps me to not take things for granted with different individuals in my life, my kids, my family members, my mom, my aunts. And I always think about when I think about different situations, my mind could go to multiple places because I try to put myself in the other person's shoes. Well, how may that have been feeling during this certain situation when everybody's jumping down their throat about something? I try to put myself in that other person's position instead of just thinking about the way that I see it. I try to think about it how another person may view it.
You said that you would want to talk to Malcolm X. How do your actions talk to Malcolm X?
Oh.
I'm getting deep today, boy. Some of y'all gonna listen to this show gonna be like,
X,
wow.
Right. Malcolm X says by any means necessary, right? I don't promote violence. I'm not a violent person. That's always my last resort. So I guess that way could be.
Okay. You said that you want to talk to Moses. How are you talking to Moses by your actions?
Wow.
Come on, man. Y'all weren't ready for me this morning.
Let's see. Well, I guess because I try to be a positive person and show people a positive way to do different things, a positive way to look at life. I try to motivate people, always encouraging others, even when stuff not great for me, even when I don't feel up to par for myself, because we are our greatest critics. So I guess that's how.
What about, you say you would want to talk to Ruth? Mm-hmm. How is your life reflecting and talking to Ruth?
When I was talking about Ruth, I was a mother. Well, during the time I was a great wife, and I was a great wife, and I was doing all the things that a wife should do. So right now, just being able to keep going and just being able to continue to move forward and continue to stay positive. So.
Okay. Well, some other people you name.
I named Robin Williams.
Okay. How are your life reflecting Robin Williams? Are you funny?
I am.
Oh my goodness, that's funny.
I mean, I have a sense of humor. I can laugh at myself because I'm human and I do things that's silly. I'm a silly person. I never say I'm crazy, but I am silly. I can be silly. I like to be silly. I like to have fun. I like to enjoy life. So.
Okay. Now, would you like for me to ask those questions?
Yes, I would. Most definitely. You have to.
Wow. Well, my grandmother was one person, and how I reflect her life is that the things she taught me, the lessons she taught me, I reflect on every day. I live, I say, I speak, but I always keep a memory of who she did and what she did for me, always at the forefront. And I realized that a lot of things she taught me and she said to me, I use and utilize in my everyday life. So I stand on her shoulders. When I think about Martin Luther King, my whole thing is that I try to tell the truth. The people, I try to let them know that in not saying that I compare myself to Martin Luther King in any kind of way, but I try to be a modern day Martin Luther King by telling unadulterated truth to the point where I want to lift and empower the people in our impoverished communities, the people who believe they can't make it. I try to empower them. I tell people all the time, I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm an inspirational speaker, because motivation is for a moment, and it's the era of that moment. I'm inspirational because I want to convict you inwardly, inspire you to move and keep you moving. So when I look at that, that's the kind of speaker I am. When I'm more like Malcolm X, because I believe that I believe in strength. I believe that the truth can't be watered down. You know, sometimes you got to tell people the truth, no matter if it hurts. They make them feel bad, because you know why? You can get true deliverance unless you true repentance through true truth. So I'm like that. I said more like Moses, because if I had a chance to speak like Moses, I didn't, until I had my encounter with God, I didn't have my excitement. So in order to ever be what God called you to be, you got to have a true encounter with him, because everything else will be speculation on what you think God wants instead of really knowing what he wants, because it's revealed. So more like Moses having a burning bush moment and feeling like I need to, from degradation, detriment, and from an unjust society or system. When I wanted to really talk about how I was talking to the thief on the cross, is because when you think about Jesus being there, I was at one point both thieves. So that's why talking to that thief is important, because I was the thief that was nailed to situations knowing I had no out, still trying to make deals with God. Like so many times we try to make deals with God. God, if you do this, then I'll do that. Or God, if you can help me then. But then, especially after having the surgery, after changing my life, elevated, then I said to myself, okay, I'm the other thief. Lord, remember me. You know I messed up. You know I deserve this cross. You know I deserve everything that's happened to me, but remember me. Deliver me, because you know what? I'm your child. And he said, this day you will be in me in paradise. This day you will be delivered. This day. When I talk about Daniel in the lion's den, there are so many times we face lions. We face big. So how do we deal with that? Do we have faith enough to go in there that God is going to close the mouth of these lions? Or even though they're big, vicious lions, because who you are in God, they shut their mouth. So that is some people. Then when I look at Thomas, I look how every Christian, every man, every woman, every Christian that believe at one point doubted God. We might not say it openly, but we have doubted God and what God can do, because we want God to do it the way we see it done, as opposed to the way he wants to do it. See, we always worry about the how instead of believing that it is done, So that's why I said that I want to talk to him. But when I talk about wanting to talk to Thomas, more importantly, it's because Thomas had an encounter with God that forever changed him. That everything and everybody in life will have that encounter with God where what he says is true. That he will show up and show out and allow you to place your hands in his hands. Then I talked about meeting Malcolm X and Martin Luther King's wives. To know what it was to be married to these heavy icons. And do you feel that it was a heavy burden on you? And a lot of times we don't understand, especially we have spouses and we are people and we serve people, or we are pastors and teachers, or we even have our own business, that the world especially requires so much of us that we can neglect our family. We can neglect our wives. Or because what God has given us to do, you have to be a part of that ministry. And if something happened to us, like say for instance, I'm a pastor and I pastor 10 or 20,000 people. And my wife is somebody that likes to sit down in the cut. Okay, now you have to step up and do that, because this is the mantle that God gave me, and being that we are one in the spirit of God, now is your mantle. So those are the people. Then when I talked about Trayvon Martin and I talked about Malcolm X, is because we all want justice. Mm-hmm. We look at the Kanika Jenkins case. We look at a lot of people who have been wrongly convicted. I was even reading about a young boy, I think he was 12 or 14 in the early 19th, that was assassinated, that he was put in an electric chair because they said he committed murder, which he didn't do. and you're looking at all these people that was hanged, was brutalized in the day when you look at Rosewood and how all those people was murdered over a lie. What is it that how do we honor them and speak to them about our lives if we don't tell the truth, or we don't keep these horrendous things in the public? So that I talked about, and I'm doing this show, is because we have to realize that history is always being made by what we say, about what we do, what we live, and the fact that we're creating a legacy. Yesterday when I talked about the young lady who, Wednesday I talked about the lady who affected 100 people with HIV. Who's responsible for that? And she wanted to affect 1,000 people because at 19 she contracted HIV. So that's her legacy. And that act of, even with the people, 49 men that cheated, that was married, those acts carry a lot of consequences, a lot of baggage, and it affects a lot of people. So I wanted to understand that what we say and what we do in life will be live on when we're not here, but it affects a lot of people. And all these great people that I asked to speak to, speak for, or speak with, is people who carry a great legacy, but what they're doing is reverberating throughout people's lives daily, even now. And that is the reason why I did the show. Those are the ways, the way I lived and talk to people, because again, I don't know who's listening to this radio show. I don't know who I post or what I say touch somebody, but I feel like if I touch one life, then my living and God giving me a lease on life is not in vain. Mm-hmm. And so that is why we're doing the show. That's why when I thought about this show, I want to do that, because that is my purpose about leaving life better than you found it.
Yes.
So go ahead.
Yeah, it's an awesome show. It's like I don't know. It's just it's crazy. It's a lot to ingest, a lot to think about with the subject. And I think we probably need to think about it more often and internalize it more often and use it to our advantage as far as how we walk the world, walk in the world, and how we treat other people, because we don't know, what tomorrow holds. We don't know if we're going to be able to talk to that person tomorrow and say, I love you, or say whatever it is that was on our mind the last time, we saw them or encountered them. So I think it's important that we need to stay and give flowers to the living instead of having to give it to them when they're gone and they're no longer with us. It's important to have that connection with other people that you love in your life, other people that are close to you, your friends, your families, your cousins, even if they live in another state. It's important to pick up the phone and make that phone call. Say, hey, I was just thinking about you. You don't have to have a long conversation. Just, hey, I was thinking about you. And, that person may have been going through something that day and they just may have need to hear from you in particular. Like, you are important. You do have a purpose. You are a special being on this planet. So when you think of somebody and face with them and see, what's going on with them.
I tell everybody, today I wrote on my Facebook page, I don't know if you've seen it. I said, love me today, all you got today. Love me for as long as you can today, because God never promised us tomorrow. And, when you are the guest of honor in the front of that church funeral home, then it is too late to show love then. And, being a minister and have preached funerals, and I've seen something that blew me away. My grandmother, God rest her soul, I love her to death. Even today, I still ain't got over her passing, but I knew when she was alive, I gave her everything I could give her. Good in that, like my family did. Like I see my mom every single day, I call every day. I'm always doing for her. And I tell her, and I tell the lady of my life, and I tell my kids, everyone I talk to, I tell them I love you. Because you're going to know, if that's the last thing I ever say to you, I love you. Because I have seen funerals where people have gone crazy. They've jumped in caskets. They're falling out. And what it is it's not so much the loss, but it's the guilt of not doing or saying or showing love when you had the opportunity to show love. See, when you're in front of that cat or the guest of honor, it's too late to show that person love anymore. You know, you can still love them, keep in your mind, but nobody's gonna know that you love them unless they alive to receive it. And I tell my mom, and I definitely tell the woman that I'm in love with, that nobody's gonna work harder than I am to make you happy. Why? I don't ever want to ever feel regret that I didn't show love. And that's what a lot of people do. And that's why I said, if God gave you 5 minutes to speak to somebody in glory, what would you say? Because God is giving you days to speak to somebody alive, but you haven't. There are somebody right now that's listening to this message, listening to the show, who has odds against your brother or your sister, who have bad feelings, who feel a certain way that you have not talked to. Now, I might not always agree with people, and sometimes I cannot agree. Sometimes I want people that later on I'll come to my senses, but I'm never going to not stop talking to you. Because at least, even if I argue with you, I said something to you. But I'm never going to let years go by, because I know I know a sister and brother who ain't talked in years over something stupid. I know a sister and brother who went to a funeral of a relative that died that wouldn't say nothing to each other. That sisters and brothers, that's blood, same mother, same father, won't say anything. And see, this show, the main purpose and premise for this show is to stop somebody's foolish awe and make them come to each other and say, okay, I might not like everything, but you know what? We're going to come together because we are blood, and we're going to do what we have to do. Because you know why? The worst thing you can do is to want to make up with somebody that died the same day you want to make up with. Worst thing in the world. That's the greatest regret. I might say you get on my nerves, you make me sick, but I love you anyway. At least you know I love you. Because you know why? I never got the opportunity to make I got the opportunity in my dreams. I thank God for allowing my dad for me to see my dad in my dreams, and for him to apologize, and we hugged in my dreams, and we kind of made amends. But my dad died in 98. And I got to contact my brothers and sisters on that side 2 years ago, and we've been great. And I realized that on that side, a lot of preachers, a lot of teachers, but I never had a physical opportunity to sit down with him and say, you know what, we should have done better, or I wish we could have did better. That's something that we really got to take hold of, because you know why? Everybody's looking for you to do something bad. Everybody looking for the stalemate, but everybody ain't looking for you to give everything you got. Because you know why? It ain't gonna do you no good to fall all out and holler and scream, and lay hands on them. Because and I believe that some people can be resurrected, but I believe a lot of people, especially in glory, like, leave me alone. I ain't coming back. I don't want to come back.
Yes.
But you have that opportunity today to bury, because you know why? So why keep her off? And why live a failed day over again and rerun of things you haven't forgiven? Do you know, and I said this yesterday, and I keep saying this in all my speaking, because this is in my new book and my new CD coming out, is that everything and everybody is a reflection of things in your life that you haven't let go. If you have peace, you'll be around peaceful people. If you have turmoil in your heart, unforgiveness, you'll be around nasty, unforgiving people. Look at that. So this show is talking about what if God give you, but we really know that God may not, or he could. I'm not gonna say he not, but he could give us 5 minutes to talk to somebody that's in glory, but he may not. Because I remember my uncle that passed years ago, and my mama is a witness to this, told me in my dreams that you would preach. And I said, because first thing when I'm talking to him, I'm like, the question I'm asking, am I dead? Because I know you dead, and I'm talking to you in my dreams. So my first question is, am I dead? He said, no, you sleep. Okay, thank you for clearing that up. Now, what is it you want to tell me? Because I didn't want to talk no more unless you let me know if I'm alive or am I dead. Once you said that I'm alive, fine. Okay. what does he want to tell me? And then I said it. God wants me to preach, don't he? He said, yes, but he'll let you know in days. I woke up in tears. Told my mom what happened. My mom would tell you. Told her what happened. You know, so he can let you talk to somebody, you know, but a lot of times we are not going to. But the way we remember is by our actions, by what we do. But more importantly, we show them love while they're still here. My grandmother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. She was sick, and they gave her 6 months to live. She lived almost a year and a half later because she was at home with people who love her. That carries a long way. And even though you're going to mourn, you're going to be sad, at least you know you gave your all. So people of God, if you're hearing this show and you're looking at the show, if you don't have that 5 minutes with that person that already passed, you have a life, you have more time now. You have more than 5 minutes to go to that brother and that sister that you got to alt with and straighten it out right now, so that if you're not here tomorrow, they know they love you. So I'm going to let April finish it off, and then we're going to conclude. But again, you know, because this is a real subject to me, and it's really a personal subject to me, because there's a lot of people in my family I wish I could talk to again, and I can't. But I can love and talk to the people that's in my family now, because God has given me the opportunity and I can make the most of it.
Yes, I think it's very important when you spoke about how people are at an alt with each other, whether it be friends or a family member. Once that person is gone, you can't tell them anything. You can only hope that they know that you love them. You can only hope that they know that you forgive them and they forgave you. But if you don't talk to them, there's no way for you to know. And that has to be a horrible feeling for that to happen. And it's hard for somebody to live with that. You know, people, it takes their life in a totally different direction sometimes, having to go through something like that. I said when my uncle passed away, my aunts and my mom were basically feuding, because when, again, my uncle was my uncle, he wasn't my brother. But when my grandmother died, he came to live with us, me and my mom. My mom was very strict, and he didn't like that. He didn't like the rules. So he wanted to leave and go with my aunts, and my mom like, no, come on, let's go. And he wouldn't come. So that's how the feud started. And he ended up being the person who passed away. So then everybody was able to come back together, but look at the circumstances that they came back together in. You know, it's not worth it. You know, whatever that fight is about, whatever you're upset about, it's not worth it. And some people can't even remember what they're mad about. They've been mad for 10 years. They don't even know what they're mad about anymore. It's not worth it. You know, you losing a whole lot of years and a whole lot of time with your loved ones over something so minute, you know, and you need to free yourself. You know, that's the important thing. You need to free yourself, forgive yourself, and forgive that other person, and keep moving forward and stay positive. This is a very difficult subject for a lot of people. A lot of people don't like to talk about death. They don't like to talk about losing loved ones. It's a heart tugger, and they don't like to deal with it. Me, I don't really have a problem with it, because I almost died. I could have been dead. So maybe that's why. I don't know why I'm that way. A lot of people say once you have a near-death experience or out-of-body experience, you look at life differently. So I think that's part of what's going on with me. I'm at 11 years old. I could have been out of here, and I wouldn't know Corey Wright. But thank God he kept me for a purpose. So I haven't lived up to that yet, but I'm working on it.
And next week, people of God, we're going to have 3 incredible testimonies and 3 incredible stories of amazing people, amazing women. Wednesday show, we're going to be talking about talking to somebody dear to me, my brand new co-host, and her testimony. See that?
She's a brand new co-host.
Yes.
I'm excited.
Her testimony Wednesday. Thursday, we're going to be talking to a friend of BB King's daughter, Shirley King, who is a poet. Good, but she has an incredible testimony. Then we're going to be talking to an author who's a speaker. She'll be on Friday's show, who was homeless with her kids. She was homeless, coming from a place of abuse and things. When you hear these testimonies next week, you're going to know that no matter what the odds are, if God is for you, nobody can be against you. Not a world can be against you. So April, and I just sprung this on April because April don't even know that her show is Wednesday, but her show is Wednesday, her testimony, and we're going to talk because her life was saved when she was young, and we want to talk about that, and she's here now, and I thank God because you know what, we all have a testimony, and one day I may tell my testimony, let her interview me. But so April, the agent testimony, we'll put the show things out, and then we have another young lady who'll be at Thursday who's a poet like her, and she have a very testimonial poetry about what she's been through. And then we have an author Friday who's amazing motivational speaker, amazing Christian speaker. When I tell you she's gonna bring down the house, it is gonna be an amazing week next week on the Solutions Radio Show. You don't want to miss any of it. And more importantly, we want to give each other a chance to speak. We know how good April is, but let's hear her testimony. Let's hear what she's been through and how she has not let that stop her, and she's going on. So people of God, Lord, you want to say something?
Yes, I do. We're talking about life and death. This is a real subject. This is a real personal matter, and we need to be able to take care of each other. When we leave here, we need to be able to take care of our family members, make sure everything is in order, our house is in order, internally and outwardly. So we want to make sure that we have the proper protection for ourselves, for our families. Again, I am April the agent. I do all types of insurance, life insurance, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, whatever you need, you can contact me. You can look me up on Facebook, April the Agent. My email address is apriltheagentforyou@gmail.com. Look me up, and I'll be happy to help you. We need to make sure, and if you do have insurance, I still would like to assist you, make sure that you have the right type of insurance, because 95% of us either don't have insurance or don't have the right type of insurance or don't have enough insurance. Call and let me know.
Well, people of God, thank you for tuning in. Bless all you guys. If you got any odds against your brothers and sisters, go to them and solve them. I know that, you're not promised tomorrow. Love on somebody with all you got today because tomorrow's not promised. Thank God for April. Thank God for Intellectual Radio. I thank God for everything. So people of God, again, it was easy to be April the agent. It was easy to be on Minister Corey Wright and Solutions Radio Show. But more importantly, remember this and get this. It was easy to be on you. See you at work. Peace.
People get ready. There's a train coming.